Spider-Man thinks I'm a hacker. Now I work for him. This whole mess started because I stayed late at the campus tech lab, heroically trying to rescue a group project that my teammates had already given up for dead. Classic. I go to this small state school with a minor internet fame reputation for tech, a place where midnight caffeine runs and lab all-nighters basically count as PE credit. Me? I'm basically the background character in the sweatshirt, keeping my headphones on so I don't have to pretend to know anyone. I like fixing stuff, tinkering with my battered laptop, and trying to hack my way through university bureaucracy with a few free software tools. I was there, my brain was already fried from juggling classes, work at the campus tech support desk, and that endless stream of deadlines. The part-time job at the campus tech center is mostly just me explaining for the 1,000th time that no, Hedgerome is not a new energy drink. And yes, your browser's 14 toolbars might just be the reason Netflix won't load. Honestly, I was expecting another flavorless night of it until it decided to get interesting. The tech lab is a pretty mundane place. Lots of counters, monitors, and clunky old desktop towers. The fluorescent lights buzz softly, casting a sterile glow over rows of equipment. At this hour, it's pretty quiet. I'd grown pretty comfortable here. Around 12:45 a.m., my laptop's battery was on its last legs. I saved my work for the third time in stretch, planning to call it a night. I thought about getting a snack to reward myself for pulling through another day, but the vending machine is still out of Sour Patch Kids. What a crime. As I packed up my stuff, my eyes caught something odd under the desk across from me. Usually, there's nothing but clutter, empty soda cans, random tech manuals, but tonight, there's this. A flash drive. Not just any flash drive. No, it's chunky, black with a jagged red streak running along the side like a lightning bolt. I squinted, curious. I leaned closer, peering across the dimly lit room. At first, I thought it's just paint, or maybe ketchup splattered on it, though that's gross enough, but no, it's darker, more ominous. Something about the crusty, dried substance on the end makes me think it was blood. Not fresh, probably long gone, yet enough to give me a prickly feeling of unease. The flash drive had a tiny white sticker on it with jagged handwriting scrawled across. Do not plug in. My instincts kicked in. I'm used to seeing prank labels on questionable downloads or hints about secret projects, but this feels different. Serious. Maybe a bad idea, but my curiosity already piqued. I glanced around. No one was watching, and I slided the thing into my pocket, tucking it away like a secret treasure. You know, maybe someone dropped it. Maybe it's some freshman's edgy art project or a prank from someone in theater club trying to scare people with fake blood. Why not? It was late. I was tired, but I just wanted to finish up and get out of here. Still, I couldn't shake the weird feeling that maybe I just found something I wasn't supposed to see. But that was the last thing on my mind as I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Turned out that was mistake number one. I didn't even bother looking at the flash drive when I got home. Just chucked my bag in a corner, collapsed face first onto my bed, and fell asleep with my shoes on because, hey, self-care is a journey. The weird part started at 3:13 a.m., which for the record is a completely unreasonable time for anything except bad decisions and binge watching. I woke up to this soft thump above my head. Not footsteps, more like something had gently body slammed the roof or landed on the fire escape. I live on the 3rd floor. The only things usually out there are pigeons and the rare freshman auditioning for America's next top concussion. And then somehow my window opened. From the outside. Allow me to repeat that. My window opened by itself at 3 in the morning. Cue immediate full throttle panic mode. I grabbed the first weapon within reach, a half-full Gatorade bottle, fruit punch, which does more emotional than physical damage, and rolled out of bed like a ninja who definitely failed gym. Before I can even channel my inner raccoon, I hear this voice. Yo, easy. Not here to rob you or kill you. Hopefully, not unless you have snacks. I froze, because crouched on my windowsill, straight up perching like a caffeinated gargoyle in $400 trainers, was Spider-Man. Hoodie, mask, and the whole awkward, lanky hero posture. He just swung one leg inside my room and said, in the world's most casual tone, I know you found it. I need your help. Also, what's that smell? Is that old ramen? Pretty sure my brain rebooted at least twice. I cycled through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Terror, confusion, oh wow, that's really Spider-Man, embarrassment about my mess, and the faint hope this was just a dream. All I could manage was, what? His mask kind of crinkled like he was smiling. Does he have mask expressions? Is that fair? And he pointed at my backpack in the corner. The flash drive, chunky black one. You touched it, right? Yeah, bad news. Someone's probably tracking you now. Tracking? Me? Okay, cool. Not terrifying at all. Barely holding on to my dignity, I mumble, it said not to plug it in. I didn't. I swear he gave me this approving nod. Honestly, good call. Most people would have ignored that and posted it on TikTok. Then he whipped out this gadget from his belt, some kind of mini black light scanner, probably only available to superheroes and eBay collectors, and waves it over my stuff like he's doing a dorm room episode of CSI Spider-Verse. I just stared, brain still buffering. He stopped, looked me dead in the eye, and went, look, you're not in trouble. Yet. But if whoever owns this drive thinks you've seen what's on it, they're not going to knock and ask nicely. Trust me, I've met their type. Not big on manners. He straightened up and dialed back the jokes for like 1 whole second. I need your help to decrypt it. You're the only one I found on campus who might know how. Please. That's the moment I realized this wasn't just sleep deprivation. Nope. I was about to become Spider-Man's unpaid tech support. So there I was, in my pajama pants, the ones with the R2-D2 print that's definitely seen better laundry days. At 3:30 in the morning, I'm sitting next to Spider-Man, who already raided my snack drawer and was halfway through a granola bar, chewing with the same expression I use when someone brings kale chips to game night. He eyeballed my laptop as it creaked to life, one hand resting suspiciously close to his web shooter, like I was going to sprout villain arms and go full Dr. Octopus, or if Windows tried to update during a crisis. Meanwhile, I was trying not to hyperventilate or throw up from the adrenaline. He washed down a bite of granola. You have no idea how close you got tonight. Some real bad types want that drive. I aimed for casual. Could we get a definition on bad types? Like midterms bad or Thanos Thanos with all Infinity Stones bad. He shrugged. Let's just say, if you hear shadowy footsteps behind you, they're not here to borrow your calculus notes. I plugged in the drive, half expecting my laptop to burst into flames or play Rick Roll at maximum volume. Instead, my antivirus immediately started screaming in 8 different languages. Good sign. Contents, a single video file. Totally corrupt. One folder, do not open. And a readme file with the gentle reassurance of a horror movie. I didn't know who else to trust. If you found this, I'm probably already dead. Spider-Man leaned in, reading upside down. Show off. He muttered, yeah, I thought so. I glanced at him. So, not tax documents then. That's Ella Tran, junior, chemistry major. Vanished 2 weeks ago. Campus security are calling it a voluntary break, but I don't buy it, he said. My hands hovered over the corrupted file. Well, do you want me to Ghostbuster this? He waved his hand. Take a shot and, kill the Wi-Fi first. Unless you want to be featured in the top 10 campus hacker gone wrong, I fired up my rescue tools. The same junk I used last week to restore a professor's directory full of research cat videos. This time, the footage stuttered like a laggy Discord call, but I could still make out Ella, cornered in the shadowy back room of the student robotics club. The half-dismantled Iron Man knockoff in the corner, adding a special kind of creepy to the scene. There's a guy standing in the doorway, polo shirt, clean shaven, kind of used car salesman, but make it Ivy League energy. He flashed a smile, the kind that probably got him free lattes, but Ella looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. She clutched a folder, then hesitantly passed it over to him. The video scrambled, crackled with static, and then total blackout. Spidey stood so fast he almost tripped over my power cable. I've seen that face. If he's involved, things just gone weird. I looked at him. Who is that guy? He ignored me, already halfway to my window. Voice suddenly a lot less jokey. Pack your laptop and leave the ramen. You're coming with me. Like now. Wait. I have classes in the morning? He tossed me my gray hoodie. Congratulations. You've just been promoted to Spider-Man's IT department. Hope you like fieldwork. Nothing quite ruins a Tuesday like being told you're now on some shadowy organization's hit list, especially before dawn and definitely before coffee. By the time we burst onto the rooftop, my lungs were burning. By now my fingers were still sticky from that ancient granola bar, and my brain was frantically trying to catch up. Spider-Man was already on his earpiece, rattling off code names like Spectre and Echo, like this was just another day in Superheroville. Meanwhile, I was trying to remember if I'd locked my dorm door. Keep your head down, he hissed, yanking me to a crouch. We're not alone. I thought he meant emotionally, but nope, he meant drones. Not the friendly, take pictures of sunsets kind. These were matte black, dead silent, with red lights that blinked like they were sending Morse code straight to the CIA. Before I could yelp, Spidey web slung us into a stairwell like we were in some parkour video gone wrong. We didn't stop until we were panting in an underground train station, adrenaline pumping like a bad energy drink. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no subject, just one word, run. Another followed, rapid fire. Plug it in again, and you'll vanish like she did. Then a photo of me, leaving the lab earlier that night completely oblivious. Someone had been watching. They're tracking me. How are they tracking me? I hissed, fighting panic. You touched the drive, that was enough, Spider-Man said, scanning the shadows like they might bite. Probably tagged with some kind of proximity trace. You could have told me that before I put it in my laptop. He didn't answer, just pulled a burner phone from his utility belt, snapped it open like a spy flick, and tossed it to me. That's yours now. Ditch your SIM, use only that, and if it rings, you run. Don't ask why. We were halfway down the platform when 2 figures in security uniforms rounded the far stairs. But these guys weren't your average security guards. They were too crisp, too alert, too ready. Spider-Man shoved me behind a column, his voice low and urgent. Stay out of sight. If they spot you, they won't hesitate. With that, he catapulted himself into a fist fight with the 2 fake security guards while I crouched there, clutching a burner phone like it was a lightsaber. He dropped from the shadows above them, literally dropping onto one guy's shoulders like a web-slinging wrecking ball. The second guard whipped out something that crackled with way too much voltage to be street legal. Spider-Man web-yanked the stun baton away, roundhouse kicked the guy into next week, and disarmed the other one like he was juggling oranges. The whole takedown took maybe 15 seconds tops. Then something skittered across the floor and stopped by my sneaker. A wallet? Numbers, some kind of ID badge. A plastic card with a barcode, no name. Just the letters SRD Access Level 2. And a cryptic logo I'd never seen before. A stylized robotic hand, clutching a flame. I picked the thing up. On the other end, the 2 guys tried to break away. One bolted for the far stairs. The other scrambled toward a maintenance hatch, like he was late for a villain convention. Spidey was faster. He webbed their ankles, yanked them back, then threw a look in my direction to check if I was okay. I ran over to him as fast as I could, breathless and holding up the ID badge I found. Look at this. One of them dropped it. He took it, squinted at it through his mask. That's not NYPD or DHS or even one of those weird shell companies. He looked at the 2 guys on the ground and demanded, "Hey, start talking, SRD. What is it? Who's your boss?" Those guys exchanged a silent, panicked look. And they did something neither Spidey nor I were prepared for, like what happened next. Literally sucker punched us right in the face. Hard. As if they'd rehearsed this nightmare moment many times before. Both men clamped their jaws down on something hidden beneath their tongues. There was a sickening, muffled crunch. It's a quiet yet weirdly loud sound. It somehow forever registered in my brain. I caught the faintest whiff of almonds and metal. Their eyes widened in terror, faces twisting for a split second before freezing mid-horror. In an instant, both of them collapsed, bodies spasming once before going utterly, terrifyingly still. I stared, heart hammering. Did they just... Yeah, Spidey said quietly. He went silent, staring at the lifeless badge like it might start hissing at him. A chill swept through the subway air. There was the coppery tang in the air. Whatever SRD was, they played for keeps. My stomach heaved. And then suddenly, Spider-Man snapped his fingers. Wait, SRD. Is it Strategic Robotics Division? I thought they got shut down years ago. Strategic what? Government Adjacent Black Budget Science Club. Whispers say they used university grants to test tech in civilian spaces. until a pizza drone lasered someone's car in half. A robotics lab? I asked. Not chemistry? Not engineering? That footage on the flash drive. Ella met that guy in the back of the robotics club room, right? Oh yeah, maybe they're using the school robotics lab as a cover. I blurted out. Honestly, I was impressed with myself for thinking straight, let alone throwing out Sherlock-level theories under such circumstances. Maybe, or maybe someone there is helping them. Either way, he pointed at the badge. This gets us in. Wait, you want to go back? To the campus? Where they might have killed... I realized I couldn't bring myself to say her name. For God's sake, Ella was one of us, a student, just like me. Spider-Man caught my look of pure panic and nodded. Then he flashed this infuriatingly confident grin you could almost hear through the mask. Oh yeah, sun's up. Birds are singing, and nothing says we totally belong in a top secret lair, like waltzing in with a bagel and coffee. Bagel and coffee? I wasn't sure if I should be terrified or start practicing my nonchalant walk. But then again, just any food sounded so freaking good right about now. We hit campus right as the morning rush hit peak chaos. Coffee carts cranking out lattes like they were curing disease, skateboarders weaving around each other in what looked like an unlicensed X Games event, and one guy in plaid pajama pants jogging with a trumpet. I still don't know if that was a class or a cry for help. Spider-Man, temporarily demoted to Spider Guy in disguise, wore a hoodie, jeans, and a pair of rectangular glasses that whispered Adjunct Professor, who grades in red pen for sport. I had on khakis, a slightly too crisp button-up, and a lanyard we'd Frankenstein from my freshman orientation badge, and a strip of duct tape with intern scrawled in Sharpie. If confidence is half the battle, stationery was apparently the other half. We breezed past 3 actual security guards, 2 squirrels, and a campus tour group. The guards didn't even blink. One of the squirrels, however, made unsettling eye contact with me. I think it knew. Relax, Spidey murmured as we crossed the quad. You just gotta walk like you're late to a meeting that could have been an email. I practiced this by nodding at a professor juggling a stack of papers taller than she was, willing my body language to scream, busy, important, definitely not on my way to commit academic espionage. By the time we reached the building, my heartbeat had almost settled into something resembling normal. Almost. Spider-Man didn't even slow down, just swiped the ID badge at the side entrance like he'd been doing this all semester. The robotics lab was unsettlingly normal in the daylight, sunbeams slanting through the windows, dust motes dancing in the air, the faint smell of cold coffee and panic. It was like walking into a college recruiting brochure if the college was run by a supervillain. Rows of cold metal arms and silent monitors, all arranged with an unsettling kind of order, like everything had been wiped down and reset for inspection. Act natural, Spider-Man whispered as we sauntered in, nerves in my throat. You know, like we're just here for the free pizza and extracurriculars. Right, like this place is totally not booby-trapped, I muttered, trying not to touch anything that looked expensive or explosive. We found what looked like a glorified storage room with a retinal scanner on the wall, which Spidey promptly ignored and opened the old-fashioned way, with a flick of a lockpick tool that he definitely wasn't supposed to have. The room beyond wasn't on the floor plan. No windows, no nameplate, just rows of locked cabinets, a beat-up desktop terminal, and stacks of black file boxes labeled with vague nonsense like Interface Adaptive Sync, Beta, Replicant Control Docs, and my personal favorite, Project Crimson Wave. I mean, nothing good ever comes from a file named like a failed energy drink. Spidey moved with purpose. I moved with the grace of a startled gazelle and immediately tripped over a rolling chair. Look for anything with her name. Ella Tran. We found schematics, diagrams for wearable robotics, neural helmets, optic systems, your typical college science fair projects. One page had a sticky note. Testing moved to off-campus site. Halpern wants tighter data control. Halpern? The donor guy? I asked our one and only. Spidey nodded, flipping faster. Looks like he's got his hands in more than just fundraising. Behind one of the file cabinets, I found a partially hidden stack labeled Student Access Logs. Robotics Club Room Second Subnet. I pulled it open. It listed names, dates, and timestamps. Ella Tran's name popped up 9 times in a single week, all late at night. The last entry, Ella Tran, dos 17 a.m. Access override, SRD, dos. She was either in on it or they cloned her access. I said, heart sinking. There's no way she knew about all this, right? Spider-Man didn't answer, already booting up the dust-covered PC in the corner. There's a secure folder, needs an RFID key. Where do we get that? Give me the ID badge from Subway, he said. I gave it to him. He swiped it across the side of the monitor tower. Beep! The screen flashed. A folder popped up labeled SRD_OMEGA_SECURE. Inside, dozens of video files and PDFs, all labeled with dates from the past few months. Spidey clicked the first video and my stomach dropped, because even without hitting play, I could tell this was going to be bad. The freeze frame showed a dimly lit room, what looked like a dentist's chair, and a girl strapped in with wires and electrodes covering her face and arms. Even without sound, even without context, I knew this was going to be rough. You ready for this? Spidey asked, finger hovering over the play button. I wasn't, but I nodded anyway because we'd come too far to back out now. He hit play, and then all hell broke loose. The video opened with static, then a faint flicker of overhead lights. The camera angle was low, tilted, like it had been set up hastily on a desk. Ella sat in the middle of the frame. A metal chair, restraints on her wrists, wires leading up to her neck, a weird-looking sensor thingy attached to the back of her head. She looked pale and exhausted. Hair hung limp over her eyes. She blinked slowly like each movement took effort. Ella, hoarse. I told you, I'm not in your program. I just cleaned the damn lab after club meetings. A man off-screen spoke in a calm, almost kindly tone. Your access card tells a different story. SRD clearance isn't accidental. You or whoever used an override code. Ella shook her head. I don't even know what SRD is. Her words cracked at the edges. You know what? It all worked out. If you didn't mess around in the lab all those nights, we wouldn't know that you were compatible. A great match. With that, a man maybe in his 40s, in casual business attire, stepped into frame. I couldn't see his face clearly because of the camera angle and lighting. Ella's eyes widened. No, please, no, I don't. Staring at the screen, I felt my heart was going to pop out of my chest at any moment. I felt like I was there with Ella. One last test, then you're free to go. Don't be afraid. He reached over and adjusted something behind her chair. The sensors began to glow faintly. A low mechanical hum filled the audio feed. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but the words dissolved into a sharp inhale. Her whole body went rigid. trembling. The frame juddered like the camera itself was reacting to the vibration. The hum then built into a higher frequency. The screen flickered, froze for half a second, and the feed cut to black. Spider-Man stood there, didn't move. I didn't breathe. For a full minute, the only sound in the room was the faint buzz of the screen as it went black. When I finally came back to maybe 20% of my senses, I asked, what is he testing her for? He said she's compatible. Compatible for what? Spidey straightened slowly. I have an idea, but I'm not sure. There's another site they use for this kind of thing. If we find it, we'll have our answer. Another testing site? He nodded once, then turned it back to the computer. Let's see if they were dumb enough to leave us a trail. We dug through the files, PDFs, encrypted folders, random lab memos, until we found a buried directory labeled simply Gamma Site. Inside, maps, coordinates, a remote location marked with a string of ID numbers that screamed top secret. Spidey leaned in, tapped the screen, and said, that's it. That's where they're doing the rest of this. The coordinates pointed to an abandoned military base tucked high in the Adirondacks. Decommissioned in the 80s, it was supposed to be a nature preserve now. But from the look of the satellite images, someone had definitely been there more recently than the park rangers. Gamma Site. Of course they'd pick a name like that, just cryptic enough to be ignored, just Marvel enough to be a secret handshake. Neither of us said, let's go. But somehow we were already moving, shutting the computer down and slipping out into the morning light. The answers we wanted were hidden in the mountains at Gamma Site, and we were headed straight for it. It took us 3 hours to get there. For the first stretch, Spidey passed out in the passenger seat, his head tilted at an angle that looked like a chiropractic emergency. Me? No such luck. Adrenaline and the creeping thought of what we might find kept me wired, so I just drove and let my poor Honda Civic rattle itself into a migraine. When he finally woke up, he acted like we were on a cross-country vacation, dug into my snack bag like he hadn't eaten in days, then hijacked the radio. Apparently his playlist was 90% forgotten pop songs and one track that sounded like a dial-up modem learning to yodel. We argued about it for 20 miles. Weirdly enough, the bad music and non-stop chewing kind of kept the trip from turning into straight-up dread. The road ended at a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. Behind it, the forest pressed in thick and dark, the kind of quiet pine wilderness you get deep in the Adirondacks. Jagged shoulders of mountain loomed on either side, their peaks still dusted with stubborn patches of snow, even in late spring. Above us, the air felt thinner, colder, carrying the sharp scent of resin and wet rock. There were no signs, no logos, just that unnatural fence, slicing the wild in two, and a faint electrical hum in the air like the place itself was holding its breath. We scaled the fence, stuck to the shadows, and found an access panel on the far side. Spidey had it open in seconds. Inside, a wide underground corridor that sloped down and down until the air turned cool and metallic. The first room we found looked like a warehouse married to the laboratory and decided to raise terrifying robot children. At first I wasn't even sure what I was looking at. Row after row of towering, motionless figures gleaming under cold overhead lights. They are very human-shaped, but way bigger. I leaned toward Spidey. These are robots, right? Mech suits, he murmured without taking his eyes off them. Up close, they were even worse. Some stood fully armored, black plating swallowing the light. Others were skeletal, spine-like cables dangling from where torsos should be. Joint housings empty but waiting. A few had head units that almost resembled helmets, but with blank, insectoid visors that made my skin crawl. The room smelled faintly of machine oil and ozone, like the air before a storm, and the silence was so thick it felt like all those empty sockets were listening. Farther in, we hit the testing floor, and that's when it got worse. Beyond a glass observation wall, 3 people sat restrained in chairs just like Ella's in the video, wired up with sensors and electrodes. Their eyes were open, but glassy, as if their minds were somewhere else entirely. Technicians in lab coats drifted between them, murmuring numbers and making adjustments. The bluish glow of massive monitors reflecting off their faces as they studied data streams I couldn't begin to read. We ducked behind a stack of shipping crates stamped S/D, Neural Integration Unit. From here, the monitor feeds were in full view, jagged, shifting brainwave graphs mapped in real time onto sleek 3D schematics of the mech frames. Then, voices. 2 engineers close enough that I could smell burnt coffee. Engineer number 1, C14 locked up after 5 seconds. Seizure onset. Engineer number 2, not compatible. C9 lasted longer. Engineer number 1, how long? Engineer number 2, promising run. Neural sync peaked at 85%, almost as good as Tran. At that name, Spidey's hand twitched, but he didn't move. Engineer number 1, you think Halpern's really going to greenlight deployment? Engineer number 2, doesn't matter. $1 billion project deploys itself. He's along for the ride. Engineer number 1, matching's still a nightmare. The control interface is so hyper-specific it has to sync to an exact neural profile. Engineer number 2, that's the point. You steal a suit, you still can't use it. Wrong brain. Best case, it bricks. Worst case, it cooks you from the inside out. The word slid into my skull like an ice pick, and even I could piece it together. The mech suits in that first room weren't something you could drive like a tank or boss around with voice commands. They used a direct neural link. Machine and mind meshed into one operating system. Only a perfect match worked. Everyone else? Rejection, malfunction, brain death. They weren't just building weapons. They were forging one-to-one weapons, bound to specific human beings and people they could track, control, and never let go. I leaned in, whispering, they're searching for pilots, the exact ones who can make the machines move, and making sure nobody else can. Spidey's jaw flexed. And those exact ones? They're never walking away. Right? Just like Ella. I muttered to myself. Somewhere deep in the facility, an alarm chirped. Short, sharp, almost polite. Then it came again, louder, angrier. Spidey's hand clamped around my arm. Time to move. We started toward the shadows, but something pulled my gaze back to the glass wall. One of the test subjects, a guy barely older than me, wires trailing from his head, blinked. His eyes flickered toward me, locking for just an instant. It wasn't random. It wasn't empty. It was the look of someone who saw me, and someone who wanted out. The alarm kept chirping, faster now. Then it erupted into a scream. Emergency lights flashed red across the walls, strobing over the mech suits like they were stirring in their sleep. We've been made, Spider-Man said. Move. We bolted down the service corridor, boots pounding on concrete. Somewhere behind us, heavy doors slammed shut, the sound of the facility locking itself down in segments. Spidey fired a web line, yanking us both up to a narrow catwalk overhead, just as a squad of guards stormed in below. These weren't mall cops. Black tactical gear, full visors, and in their hands, neural stun rifles. I recognized them from an SRD manual in the lab. One shot, and you'd be drooling on the floor until someone decided if you were worth interrogating. We crawled along the catwalk, barely breathing, until a guard glanced up. Contact! East wing! A rifle cracked. A burst of blue-white energy seared the railing inches from my face. Go, go, go! Spidey shouted. We dropped into another hallway, and this one lined with glass-walled chambers. Inside, technicians scrambled to shut down computers, shoving files into metal cases. I caught flashes of blueprints, brainwave charts, and the blurry silhouette of that mech suit from earlier. I wanted to stop, take photos, anything, but the pounding boots behind us said otherwise. We cut through what looked like a repair bay, weaving between the towering mech frames. One of them, sleek, silver, and eerily humanoid, turned its head slightly as we passed. My blood went cold. Please tell me that thing's not active, I whispered. If it is, we don't stick around to find out, Spidey shot back. Two guards stepped into the far doorway, rifles raised. Spidey moved before I could blink. Two web shots yanking the rifles out of their hands and slamming them into the wall, hard enough to make them reconsider their life choices. We burst onto the loading dock, wide open and way too exposed. A security SUV screeched to a halt at the far end, more guards piling out. I've got this! Spidey said. Before I could argue, he vaulted into the air, snagged the SUV's front bumper with a web, and yanked it sideways into a stack of shipping crates. I bolted for the exit, my lungs burning, while the crash echoed behind me. Outside, the mountain air hit like a slap, sharp and cold. We ran across gravel toward the tree line, the siren still wailing behind us. That's when I felt a hand on my arm, not Spidey's. I spun around. It was the young man from the testing chamber. I'm the one who'd locked eyes with me earlier. He was panting, pale, no headset now. His eyes were wild. They'll come for you, he gasped. It's not just here. There are other sites, other facilities. Before I could ask what he meant, Spidey appeared, grabbed both of us, and hauled us toward a camouflaged hatch in the hillside. Inside was a maintenance tunnel, narrow, low, and smelling faintly of oil and ozone. We ran until my legs felt like wet cement. When we finally emerged into daylight, blinking and gasping, we were a half mile from my car. We slid into the Honda Civic, doors thudding shut behind us. The engine coughed to life, vents rattling as heat stormed through the cabin. I slumped against the passenger seat, hands still shaking as I fumbled with my seatbelt, while the guy from the lab curled up in the back, arms wrapped around his knees like he was trying to disappear. Spidey gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles showed white through the suit fabric, his mask slightly askew from our sprint through the tunnel. The siren behind us still howled, fading into a distant, jagged wail as the world narrowed to the hum of the road. I gasped. So what do we do? Spidey glanced at the camera app on my phone, the shaky footage still crawling from inside the facility. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, post it. All of it. The footage, the files, the coordinates of the site. I hesitated. That's going to paint a giant target on my back. You're already a target, he said. Difference is now the whole world will be looking with you. I typed out a short blunt caption, my fingers still a little shaky. Hidden in the mountains, SRD is testing human subjects for neural sync compatibility, turning them into living keys for military mech suits. This is illegal and it's happening at coordinates. Spread the word. I hit post. The internet, usually a slow burn, exploded. Within seconds, my notifications blew up like firecrackers. Retweets and comments flew faster than I could read them. SRD shot to the top of trending topics. Then hashtag free the test subjects. Then Mustang shut down SRD. My phone became a hot brick of vibrating outrage. By the time Spidey navigated us back into the city limits, the world had caught fire. Every major news outlet had picked up the story, their headlines screaming about covert human experimentation and government cover-ups. And then the protests started. Dean Halpern's office, and usually a tomb of quiet, self-important marble and glossy brochures, was now a pulsating epicenter of fury. Hundreds of people packed the plaza in front, a sea of chanting, sign-waving outrage. Some were students, faces grim with betrayal. Some were reporters, microphones thrust like weapons. And some just smelled the opportunity to live stream a revolution. And then, through the sea of faces, I saw her, Maya, from my intro to philosophy class, holding a sign that read, "Their bodies, not their bots." Her eyes, usually so bright with academic debate, were fierce and determined. In that moment, I felt the abstract panic of being a target faded, and it was replaced by a surge of something else, a strange mix of terror and triumph. It wasn't just about me anymore, it was about them, all of them. I squeezed through the crowd, pushing past elbows and protest signs until I reached her. Maya? She turned, and her face lit up with recognition, before shifting to something like awe. "Hey, you're the one who posted this, aren't you?" Her voice was barely audible over the chants, but the intensity was unmistakable. I nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of it all. "You have no idea what you just did," she said, gripping my arm. "My cousin's been missing for 3 months. Military recruitment, they said. But now," she gestured at her sign, her voice cracking slightly. "Now we know where to look." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. This wasn't just about exposing Halpern. It was about bringing people home. The crowd's chants were deafening when the marble steps of the administration building cracked open like an eggshell. Dean Halpern emerged, but not the way anyone expected. He was encased in a towering mech suit, 12 feet of gunmetal gray armor that moved with terrifying precision. Neural cables snaked from the back of his skull into the suit's collar, pulsing with an eerie blue light. His face, visible through a reinforced visor, was twisted with rage. "You want to see what progress looks like?" His voice boomed through external speakers, distorted and mechanical. "I'll show you what humanity's future demands." The crowd scattered like startled birds as Halpern's suit raised one massive arm, energy crackling between his fingers. "Everyone down!" Spider-Man's voice cut through the chaos as he web swung directly into Halpern's path, catching the energy blast on his chest and tumbling hard into a concrete planter. The Dean's mech suit was a nightmare of engineering, every movement fluid, every response instantaneous. This wasn't some prototype. This was his magnum opus, built for one pilot, himself. Spidey rolled behind a campus statue just as an energy blast vaporized it into academic confetti. "Wow, Dean H. was hoping we could settle this over a passive-aggressive syllabus note, but okay." Halpern's response was to launch himself forward with thrusters, metal fists swinging like wrecking balls. Spider-Man barely dodged, webbing himself up to a light pole as the mech's punch cratered pointed to the sidewalk where he'd been standing. 30 years of research, Halperin roared, pivoting with mechanical precision. 30 years of being told my vision was unethical and dangerous. Well, here's your ethics. He fired a volley of micromissiles. Spidey web swung between them, but one clipped his shoulder, sending him spinning into the side of a news van. The fight was vicious. Halperin had the advantage. Reach, firepower, and that armor just ate up Spidey's attacks like they were nothing. But Spider-Man had logged serious hours at this gig. He got a hang of things more quickly than Halperin would like. He started targeting the neural cables, webbing them, pulling them taut. Each hit made Halperin's movements stutter slightly, just for a split second. The neural link! Spidey called out, dodging another swing. It's not just controlling the suit, it's controlling him. Halperin's face in the visor was no longer just angry. It was desperate for a second, almost afraid, like he wasn't entirely in control anymore. Spider-Man web yanked himself up and over the mech, landing on its back. His fingers found the main neural interface cable, thick as his wrist and humming with power. Sorry, Dean, he muttered, reaching for it. Suddenly the suit's back erupted with defensive laser turrets. Spidey threw himself sideways as crimson beams sliced through the air where his head had been. The mech bucked like an angry bronco, shoulder-mounted cannons swiveling to track him. Get off, Halperin roared, the suit spinning and thrashing. Spider-Man held on, webbing himself to the armor plating as laser fire scorched the ground around them. The Dean activated some kind of electrical discharge. Lightning arced across the suit's surface. Spidey yelped and got launched off, tumbling across the concrete, but he was already web swinging back before he hit the ground. Okay, that was rude, he called out, dodging another volley of back-mounted lasers. I was trying to help. This time he came in fast and low, using a statue as cover before leaping onto the mech's shoulder. The defensive systems tracked him, but he was ready, webbing the laser turrets, gumming up their rotation. His fingers found the cable again. Halperin tried the electrical trick, but Spidey gritted his teeth and held on through the shock. Really sorry about this, Dean, he said, and yanked hard. The cable snapped with a shower of sparks. Halperin's scream echoed through the speakers as the mech suit seized up, joints locking. It toppled backward like a felled tree, crashing into the administration building steps with a sound like thunder. When the smoke cleared, Dean Halperin was unconscious in the wreckage of his own creation, neural burns across his temples, the suit's systems dark and silent. Spider-Man stood over him, chest heaving, bits of smoke curling from his suit. 30 years of research, he said quietly to the stunned crowd, and this is what it built. Sirens wailed closer, bouncing off the ruined facade of the administration building. Red and blue flashes spilled over the crowd as SWAT trucks, FBI SUVs, and what felt like every news van in the city poured into the quad. Reporters swarmed like it was feeding time at the aquarium. Spider-Man was already edging back, probably allergic to televised Q&A. He stepped in close though, just enough so I could hear him under all the chaos. You did good today, he said. Better than good. Partner. I'm not gonna lie, it hit me harder than I expected. The guy who swings between skyscrapers without spilling his coffee just called me his partner. Me, who 3 days ago thought hacking into the robotics lab's Wi-Fi was the pinnacle of bravery. And then he was gone, vanishing into the skyline, leaving me in the middle of the aftermath. The sun was warm on my face. Morning had started hours ago, but it felt like the real day was just beginning. Somewhere overhead a siren whooped, like it knew it was late to the party. I glanced up at the empty sky and grinned. Partner. Guess I've got to put that on my resume now.